What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, thank you for joining us. I'm gonna keep this intro short and sweet. I hope you guys really enjoyed the last video, the ASMR video that I did on the engine teardown of our 14 STI project slash restoration rebuild. I guess to get right to the point, what we're doing today is we're gonna continue the disassembly on this car. We're going to be ending up pretty much tearing out the rest of accessory stuff. This Radium AOS is leaving, boost controller's coming out, the fuel pressure regulator's coming out, we got a flex fuel, this is an older Gen 1 flex fuel sensor that's coming out, and then after we get everything out from up here, we're going to be focusing down on getting this transmission out of the car, because the tail end of this transmission has a really bad leak, and we're going to pull it out and reseal that so that it's no longer leaking. I'm also tearing everything out because I love clean stuff. So this entire engine bay and everything that I can get in the back is going to be getting detailed. This front subframe is going to be getting detailed, and when the transmission's out, we're also going to be giving that a thorough cleaning so that everything can be just clean. So to talk about some of the plans for this car, I know some of you may be wondering. I'm not going to get too deep into what exactly we're doing with this car, but to keep it short, essentially I have a 20,000 mile Type RA long block that I have for this car, and we're going to be doing a very modest, simple build on this car. Essentially, we're going to be still have headers, we're going to be external gated. I'm moving back to a stock turbo setup for this car. I'm keeping the downpipe, it's an NVIDIA catless, however, I have a Jezi cat or Jezi cat somewhere that I'm going to be welding into that downpipe. I also have injectors, we're keeping these fuel lines, still doing a fuel pressure regulator, intake, we're still going to do we're not going to be using the front mount that came off of this car, which is down here. I have a different front mount that will be going on this car because we are no longer going to be using this AMS manifold. I'm actually selling some of these parts because I don't care to have these. I'm not a fan of AMS manifolds. So yes, we'll be doing a really light build, just something fun for this car, and definitely have got to change out this exhaust. It's got a Tomei on it. I'm not a fan of Tomeis either, so I have an AWE Touring catback for this car that when we start actually getting to the end of it, this should sound very nice on the car, a very gentleman tone. So without further ado, let's go ahead. I'm gonna get you guys set up on the tripod, and we're gonna start tearing all this stuff out. Okay, I believe we are mostly wrapped up here. There is a Chase Bays power steering kit, which I'm sure you guys noticed it leaked all over the floor down there, which I ain't gonna worry about that. But it does have a Chase Bays power steering kit on it. The steering rack will be coming out of this car, since I'd like to reseal the box up here, or the steering, I don't even know what that is, that top section. I normally know it, but I am going back to a full OEM power steering line and reservoir setup. So we'll get that handled at some point, but my main objective now is to go ahead and start working on getting this transmission out of the car, now that pretty much everything that I want out of the engine bay is out. Minus this fuel line, but we ain't gonna talk about it. So cool. I'm gonna start draining this transmission. Well, this axle nut right here fought me real hard. I had to apply heat and finally got it broken free with my impact. But moving on, now we're gonna get both of these front axles out on this. And to do that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove these top two strut bolts right here, as well as I'm gonna disconnect the sway bar end link right there, so that I can pull this hub out of the way and pull the axle out from the hub. Also, don't forget that you got your brake line and your ABS line. I'll go ahead and remove both of those. Not the lines entirely, but just disconnect them from the strut, and that'll allow the travel to get these out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that on both sides, and then we'll go ahead and get these axles out. So now this frees the strut from the hub, like so. So now that we got the hub separated, what I'm gonna do now is come down to the sway bar end link. It might be a little hard to see because I don't have the greatest light in here, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect the sway bar end link from the lower control arm right down here, and I'm just gonna swivel him up. So now that I got the nut off, it'd be really hard. It's kind of hard to get these out while the other side is still attached. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and knock out the other side. I'm gonna do that off camera. There's no point in showing you guys twice. Okay, so now I've got the sway bar end links on both sides separated from the lower control arms. We got our hub separated from our coilovers, and now it's just hanging. So what I do now is I take a punch and a hammer, and I just slowly tap on the end of the knuckle until it pushes through the hub. And then from there, we'll be able to turn the end of this axle outward and pull it from the hub. All right, we're just about there. And now the axle is backed up pretty far. So now all I do from here is you can just grab the end of the axle and you can just pull it straight up. And now it's just hanging out. So from here, all I pretty much do is I grab the axle and I pull it straight back, kind of in popping motions. Some people say not to do that because you could separate the inner joint from the other, which I've done it before and it's super easy to pop back in. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this thing out. And just like that, super easy. And this one actually did ever so lightly pop out on this corner. So yeah, I'll just show you guys how to literally pop that back in. Just like that. Set it down and just push straight back. This axle's perfectly fine. So now that I got the axle out, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go do the other side, and I'll get back with you guys in just a second. All right, so now we got both axles out of the transmission, which I'll show you guys top side since we don't have an engine in this from pulling it from on the first video. But you can see no axle and no axle. So now I'm gonna go underneath the car and I'm gonna show you guys kind of what's gonna happen under there.
So it's quite difficult to film underneath, but we are at the tail end of the transmission right now. You can see it's actually very leaky because I gotta reseal this back portion right here. But pretty much what we're gonna do now is there's the heat shield or deflect shield to protect the drive shaft from the exhaust. So there's 4 bolts that hold this shield in. There's 2 up front, and then there's 2 at the rear. 1 back here, and then 1 back here. I will be dropping this cat back. I'm not going to film dropping a cat back because no point, but I am going to do a lot of this off camera because, like I said, it is very difficult to film under here. But I'm going to go ahead and get this shield drop, and then I'm going to remove the drive shaft. The drive shaft is held in by 2 carrier bolts, which is pretty much right at the back of the heat shield. There's 1 bolt on one side, 1 on the other side, and then there's 4 bolts all the way at the end of the drive shaft. Let's see if I can set that up. There's 4 nut bolts at the end of the drive shaft. You remove those and pretty much the drive shaft just slides right out, no problem, most of the time. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this shield off, drive shaft out, and then touch back. All right, so back under, everything is removed. The heat shield, the cat back, and the drive shaft is off. So now all we are left with is to get this transmission out is we got the shifter assembly. And we got the actual mounts. So the way I tackle this usually is I put a jack with a piece of wood under the transmission up towards the front, and I use the jack to support the transmission while I remove the mounts, and then from there you're able to slowly let the transmission down to where you can access all the hardware to get the shifter assembly out of the way. Being that we have no engine in here, there's going to be no support holding that trans besides a jack, so I'm gonna have to find out something else to do. But pretty much gonna go ahead and tackle this. I'm gonna do exactly as I said, get this mount out of the way and work on the shifter assembly. Pretty much all you really have is for this lower arm, you have a single bolt. It does slide out once you get it past, there's a welded nut on that side right there, and that pulls down. The top one is the hardest one to get to. There's a nut on the bottom and the bolt through the top. And then you have your reverse lockout cable right there. There's a cotter key holding that. So once you remove that cotter key, you're just able to pull that straight back and it's disconnected. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock that out and we're going to go ahead and get this transmission out of the car. And just like that, the transmission is out of the car. Honestly, I didn't really film much of it because it was a little bit of a hassle to get it out without being able to rely on the engine to keep it held the back end up. So kind of had to get it on my transmission jack I have over there. And then I had to fight getting it off the trans jack and onto the floor so that I was able to slide it out from underneath the car. But to kind of point out some more, this whole tail section right here needs to come off because it's leaking pretty bad. As you can tell, it's all wet back right here. Yeah, pretty bad. Honestly, I have never dug into any of the STI transmissions, minus just bell housing forward, like, you know, clutch, the fork and everything. So I am going to do my research before I even dig into this and reseal it, just for my own due diligence so I don't mess anything up. But not even gonna lie, it is actually a couple days later. I was super tired after getting that out and I was just ready to go home, so that's what I did. I went home. And then I didn't film anything yesterday because I actually had to give some attention to my flip car that I have. I have a 2010 Subaru Outback with the EJ25, the 2.5i. So I do plan on starting a flip car series, but I'm not going to be doing any filming really with this car because, well, it's pretty much already done. I bought this car, it needed head gaskets. I did a ton of stuff to this thing. So obviously head gaskets, new plugs, new ignition coils, O2 sensors, put a new alternator on it, brand new PCV setup, new filter, fresh coolant, all the works to get this car running right and good. So yesterday, my buddy that I work with, he came over and we started detailing this thing because it was pretty filthy. So yeah, we were doing the seats out and restoring the carpet and everything. The seats still need to be done. They're pretty gross. But I'm waiting for my shampooer to come in so that I can go ahead and knock out the seats. Yeah, there's one. You can see how gross they are. Oh, absolutely filthy. But yeah, as soon as this car sells, I will obviously be buying and continuously doing these flip cars. So if you guys are interested in watching like a flip car series on stuff like that, in between like actual builds and, you know, the cool stuff, but you know, I could do that breakdown. It would be like regular Subaru stuff, regular NA, pull, head gaskets, you know, normal Subaru stuff. So just to get back into it, we're going to be diving back into the 14 yet again. As you guys know, we're going to be further doing some more disassembly. I'm going to go ahead and get this front bumper off so that I can pull the intercooler and that other pipe out. And then I'm going to toss the bumper back on because, well, it's getting a little crammed in here, so kind of just to save space and not have it sitting. After the front bumper's off, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the front sway bar entirely out because I have another one going in with new end links and everything. And then on top of that, I got to pull out the standalone ECU in this. This thing has a Haltech in it. As those of you who watched the first video, there's the cords running to it, so got to get that out. As soon as that is done, I'm also going to get this back to be a rolling chassis. So I'm going to get the hubs back up to the struts and everything so that I can put wheels back on it, steer it, and I do need to push this car out so that I can pressure wash the engine bay and get it all clean and ready for, you know, the resealed on the end of the transmission. I'm also going to pressure wash this thing, make it all nice and clean so that the new 20,000 mile Type RA long block can come in here, sit down, and we can start getting this car to a running state. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the bumper and get that intercooler out. So let's start. Got the intercooler off. Now, honestly, I'm not a fan of these Mishimoto or the short half intercoolers. I'm a much bigger fan of ETS front mounts, and could you guys imagine that? Goofy, but yeah, much bigger fan of the ETS stuff, full size. But hell yeah! All right, moving on. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get these back to being able to be rolled. So that side's done. On to the next. This side's done now. Now we're gonna go ahead and pull off this front sway bar. All right, so I finished pulling out the Haltech ECU, but I did stop recording because I did just get to a point where I was starting to chase and just pull wires out from the dash, and honestly, that shit's boring and nobody wants to see that, so whatever. But we did run into a little bit of a problem, and that is the previous owner had told me that the OEM ECU was in the car. When I pulled back the carpet to where the ECU is, which if you don't know, where you just saw, it's in the passenger floorboard. You just pull back the carpet. It's like 4 bolts and it pulls back a metal tray, and the OEM or the ECU is usually right there. When I pulled it back, and as you can see right here, there's the Haltech 2500 and an IC7 dash display, which I had pulled this out of the car when I actually went to go pick the car up, because I drove this car back home, and he had the OEM cluster, and so I put the OEM cluster back in because this couldn't show fuel level, and it being a big old setup, I didn't want to risk running out of fuel. I wanted to know what the fuel level was. But when I pulled back that carpet, what I found instead was a 14.7 Solutions plug and play adapter. And if you don't know what these are essentially the middleman from the engine harness, chassis harness, sub harnesses, the dash harness. Everything plugs into this guy right here. And what happens is this converts all the data, information, everything from the car, and it converts it into what can be read and understood by the Haltech. So you got all the OEM harnesses plug into this, converts that data, and these two plug into the Haltech. And then pretty much your engine and everything is running off the Haltech data. But the problem that we have is I don't have the OEM ECU for this car. And that kind of puts me in a little bit of a tight spot with this. So now that means I have to find a new ECU or a used ECU,
and find somebody that will be able to rewrite the VIN and program it to the car, which I have to do a little bit of research on who can do that or whatever, because I sure as hell can't. Or I have to get a new ECU, immobilizer, key cylinder. There's an anti-theft little system box, and you got to replace all these systems just for the ECU to work. Because if you just try to put a new used ECU in these and not change out anything else or get it reprogrammed, the car won't even be able to crank, because the immobilizer is going to be like, hey, whoa, slow down, buddy. So we got to figure that out on this. Not a crazy big deal. It's just more annoying than anything. So I'm going to be figuring that out. Now, in case you're wondering what I'm going to be doing with the Haltech setup and everything, actually my old man, my father, he has a 2018 STI Type RA, and we're going to be putting this whole setup in his STI. I know the cluster won't work, but the display is still good. I don't know if this plug and play adapter works for VA chassis or not, but I'll look into that. ECU I know will work. So you guys will definitely be seeing some of his car on my channel at some point. But in the meantime, I've got some researching to do as far as this whole ECU problem, so that we can drive it. I've actually got somebody who might be interested in this car, because I am selling this car when I finish it. So we're talking about possible setups to actually go in it instead of what I was initially planning for it. So I'll keep you guys tuned on that on coming videos. So with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one.